So you're going to be having a quiz coming up on exponents. And basically it's trying to put all the different stuff about exponents together. So that's what this video is about, is just to kind of help you think through it. Now, here's what's happening. You're going to get, oh, that wasn't very good. You're going to get somewhat of a complicated problem. It looks kind of scary at first, but it's one of those things that you just have to not allow it to scare you. You have to just kind of step back and don't try and do the whole problem in one step. Look at the problem and just think of what is one thing that you can do to solve this problem. So for example, we have a fraction being multiplied times a fraction. And when you do that, you multiply across the top and you multiply across the bottom. And when we do that with exponents and all this stuff, all we do is just basically write one fraction. So I've got 2x squared y from the first fraction times 9xy squared from the second fraction. And then on the bottom, I've got 3x times y to the fourth from the first and second fraction put together. Now, I'm going to point out right here, I put multiplication signs, but technically this is multiplication, and this is multiplication, this is multiplication. So these guys don't really have to be there. Okay, so don't feel like you have to have them or that they mean something special. Also, we have two types of numbers in this fraction. We've got a number at the beginning. They're called coefficients, and they're big, and they're going to get multiplied. And then we've got these little guys up here at exponents, and those rules are going to be a little bit different. Also, sometimes people kind of freak out. I have an x with no exponent, and I have a y with no exponent. And that kind of throws a loop into things when we're doing exponent rules. So just remember, when there's no exponent, really it's just a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 on all of them. And then I'm going to look at my big numbers, and I'm going to look at, I have a 2 and a 9 and a 3. So I've got to take 2 times 9 and I've got to divide it by 3. 2 times 9 is 18. And then I'll go ahead and just leave that as 18. I'll leave the 3 on the bottom for now. Also, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bases, and remember this is all multiplication, so I can rewrite things in different orders. So I'm going to go ahead and put my x's together. So I've got x squared, and then I've got an x to the 1. I've got y to the 1 and y squared, so that's all the top rearranged. On bottom I've got x to the 1 and y to the 4. Okay, now let's get some of this out of the way here. Okay, now what I can do is I can put some of these things together, like follow my rule that when you have the same base, you add the exponents. So when you have the same base being multiplied, add the exponents. So I'm just doing one rule at a time. It doesn't really matter what rule you pick as long as it's a good rule. And so I added my exponents. Now I can subtract exponents. If you look here, I've got a division right here and a division right here. So I can go ahead and subtract exponents, and I'll subtract them on the top. So I've got an 18, and then I'm going to have x to the 3 minus 1, and yes, I do expect to see you writing this down, y to the 3 minus 4, and that'll all have a 3 on bottom. Let me get some of this out of the way here. Okay. And then I've got 18, and then I've got a 3, oh my goodness, I'm thinking ahead and getting it wrong here. So I've got an x squared and a y to the negative 1 over 3. Now, by the way, I've got this 18 and 3 here. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. Just be careful you don't subtract, because what we're doing is we're dividing. So let's actually divide. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So now we've got, let's see, what do we have? We have 6x squared y to the negative 1. And then remember, negative exponents go to the bottom, but that's the only thing that goes to the bottom. The rest of the stuff doesn't have any negative exponents. So I've got this as my answer. And I can write the 1 there if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, so that would be an example of something that's a little bit more intense, but you can do it. You just have to take one step at a time. And maybe what you saw was different than me, and that's fine. You'll still get to the same answer. Another example would be 2x over y squared, all in a bubble, to the 4th power. Now if we look at this one, I've got 1, 2, 3 things in here. I've got this multiplication up here, so 2 times x, and I've got a division by y squared. So our rules for a bubble with an exponent is, if there's multiplication, go ahead and put the exponent on both of them. If there's division, go ahead and put it on the top and the bottom. So basically I'm looking at this as being 3 different things that get the same exponent. So I get 2 to the 4th, x to the 4th, over y squared to the 4th. On the top, I can go 2 to the 4th, that's 16, x to the 4th, over, now here I have the same, these exponents, an exponent raised to another exponent, so I'll go ahead and multiply those, so I get y to the 8th. And I'm done, actually, because I just have one x, I just have one y, I don't have any negative exponents, I just have one coefficient. So this is the end on this one. So that one was a lot quicker than the last one. Okay, so when you're doing these in class, basically you are doing the same thing over and over again. You're just doing all the rules, pick one rule and go with it. And you may pick a different one than someone else, but as long as it's a legit rule, you should be just fine.